Good evening. Welcome to another Wednesday evening here at Restore Live. Restore Live going out live to the British Unionist People's Voice on Facebook, to Restore UK on Facebook, and also to Restore UK. That's on YouTube. Now, I don't know why you listen to the words of that song, and I don't know why you actually sing what the gist of that song was. Month 12 today, the 1st of December. We're into month 12 of a constitutional changing protocol, which it has been admitted in the court just over the last few days that the Act of the Union, well, they say that it is suspended. And if the Act of Union is suspended, that means that Northern Ireland, in terms of a full member of the United Kingdom, is also suspended. And what you'll have noticed on that song is you'll have noticed Jeffrey Donaldson. Jeffrey Donaldson, the man who, well, he told others in August, a gathering of people, where he told people that if there was no change or no meaningful move or attempt to do something about this constitutional changing protocol, well, he would be collapsing Stormont and he would do something about it. But here we are, December, month 12, today, the 1st of December, of a constitutional changing protocol. And yet Jeffrey, he hasn't done a thing. He hasn't done a dicky bird. Now, he did say that it was him that forced the British government to actually to go and start negotiating with the European Union. But if you're hearing the sounds coming from the European Union right now, well, what you will see, what you will note, what you will understand, and what you can anticipate is that the protocol is going nowhere. There may be some changes to the protocol, but it looks as if that all is on offer. Now, let's just see how this plays out. Will Jeffrey, will he collapse Stormont? And for the longer that this goes on, even if he does collapse Stormont, well, it will be meaningless. And I mean meaningless, and I'll tell you why, is because there's an election coming up in the very, very near future, in May of this year. And really, electioneering, although that it's already underway, although that Jeffrey's words that he's talking about doing things and, walking away from Stormont, if that is what was required, well, that is electioneering. And electioneering, it will start in earnest after the Christmas period. And I would assume that Jeffrey actually will walk away from Stormont, but when it's too little and too late. That would be after the constitutional changing protocol being in business, doing the dirty work of the EU in terms of really decimating the UK internal market in terms of Northern Ireland's position within the UK internal market and the goods that we get to and from Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. So Jeffrey really has done nothing. And that's typical of Jeffrey Donaldson. And we keep having to emphasize this just to remind him that we're watching. We see what's happening. We don't see any meaningful proactive protest in a way that would defend, protect, and enhance British unionism here in Northern Ireland. And you know something? Nothing under Jeffrey Donaldson's watch ever happens. Nothing happens at all. He expects the needle to return to the start of the song, and he expects you, I, and everyone else to sing along like before. But I think that the DUP are reading this totally wrong. Anyway, what are we here for this evening? You may have seen the little picture there that popped up after the song that we just played. And what I want to do is I want to actually read from that picture. And, it's about the gift of freedom. And where did the gift of freedom come from? Well, the gift of freedom has been passed down throughout the generations, and it has been passed and handed down. And I just asked one question this evening, and I'm asking this to the live chat. I'm asking to the people on the live chat, will we be the generation that will let the torch of freedom, that will let it actually go out? Now, that's a real question. That's a serious question. The gift of freedom is like a torch. Will we let that torch go out? Generations before us, well, they stood up for freedom. and they give it everything. They give it everything that they had. There isn't there the old saying from wartime when some gave you know some give a lot, some gave all. And what do we see today here in Northern Ireland? We see a scenario which is developed whereby that the gift of freedom that was handed down to us and passed on just like a torch for us to keep that flame running and going. Well, we could be forgiven for looking right across the board to community leaders, to people in authority. We could be forgiven for thinking that, do those people really care? Do these people actually grasp what it is that they're tasked to do? Do these people understand the burden that is on their shoulders? Do these people understand that there are some things more important than keeping your feet under a globalist table? There are some things more important than funding. And that's me putting it mildly. The gift of freedom. It's a huge, huge burden which is on the people here of Northern Ireland to do something about ensuring that the torch that was handed down, to ensure that that flame stays alight, and to continue to ensure that that flame stays alight, especially when our leaders, well, it looks as if that they couldn't care less. Now, whenever I talk about freedom, what do I talk about here? I talk about the fact that we are incrementally moving towards an open prison. An open prison in where that you will do as you're told. Otherwise, that you'll have restrictions, huge restrictions replaced on you. So what are those freedoms of which I talk about? Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom to criticize bad law, your right to call out corruption, your right to point out corruption, your right to hold your politicians to account, your right to bodily autonomy, your right to decide what it is that you put in your body after that you've assessed all information available, your absolute right in a democracy to ask questions and to expect answers, your right to protest, your right to point out where you see the law enforcement going wrong, where you see a part of your government trying to destroy the country in which you live. It is your absolute right. It is your freedom to do that. Freedom of choice, that's a big thing. That is an absolute, it's something that politicians don't have the right to interfere in. It's down to each and every individual here in Northern Ireland to make their own decisions, to choose this day whom or what they will serve. It's up to a person to decide what it is that they choose to believe in, what it is they choose to align with, what it is they choose to support, and who that it is that they choose to point out that these people are totally getting things wrong. So the gift of freedom, like a torch, well, when politicians, when community leaders, when they don't seem to be able to demonstrate that they are trying to keep that flame alight, well then, I think that it's up to the people. It's up to the people here in Northern Ireland specifically to ensure that that flame never goes out, and to ensure that those politicians that are not doing their job, that are not serving and protecting the people, it is up to ordinary people to ensure that they get the message that, well, it's not been done in our name, and we don't give authority for the things that is coming down our line. Are our politicians frightened of globalization? Are they hiding from the media? Well, let me talk about something that I learned just a few years ago. I learned from a DUP member that the media, the so-called mainstream media, is in their eyes, in their view, a constituency to be won over. A constituency just like the people here at Restore, just like the British Unionist electorate, just like any constituency. And that doesn't even mean that you have to be attached to British Unionism. There are several constituencies in politics. And you see, the party political machine in the DUP, they see the media as a constituency to be won over. How many people thinks that that the media, that the mainstream media, could be won over by the DUP? Now let's talk about the reasons actually why that the mainstream media can't be won over by any political party. And by extension, when we explain this, when we talk about this, when we understand the reasons why, well then what we can identify is the fact that the DUP and their so-called constituency, the mainstream media, to be won over, well, it's a waste of time. It is an absolute waste of time. And you know, the DUP, they try to win this mainstream media constituency at the expense of their own voters. Often we see things happening. Often we see things happening here in Northern Ireland, which means British Unionism, absolutely no good at all. And yet the DUP, the UUP, the mainstream political parties, well, they won't stand up against the things that mean us most harm. And why does this happen? Well, let's just trace back a wee bit and we'll remember something that happened just a few years ago. There was a time in our history, or not too distant past, there's a better way of phrasing that, whenever the DUP, they aligned with Theresa May to prop up Theresa May's government. And what they did was Jeffrey Donaldson was the signatory to a thing called a confidence and supply arrangement with the Conservative government. And that's where the DUP agreed to support Theresa May's government in return for money to be brought back here into Northern Ireland. Well, whenever they done that confidence and supply arrangement, the DUP were absolutely savaged, and I mean savaged, in the English press, and they were savaged right across social media. And I believe there's the origins of the DUP deciding that they didn't want to be savaged again, and they didn't want to be on the receiving end of any criticism whatsoever. They weren't probably capable of taking the criticism. You know, what we need is that we need leaders that if there's something to be stood up for, if standing up for the right thing means that you receive criticism from the far left press, from the pretend journalists, they're really activists. The activists acting as journalists, you know, if we can't stand up in a way for what it is that we believe, for fear of these people actually writing in the press about you and continuing to try to turn the hearts and minds against you. You know, if you bow down to that, if you roll over to that, if you will not confront that, well, they have you beat. They have you totally beat. And you see, I believe that that's where the DUP are today. The UUP, well, they're insignificant. We all know that they get 3 likes and 2 shares on social media, and they aren't popular whatsoever. And the media can tell you whatever they want with reference to the Ulster Unionist Party. But those people are not popular. And okay, except for a few airy-fairy type votes that wants to attach themselves to any woke agenda that comes down our road, well, they might get a few votes in that respect. But other than that, the UUP are unelectable. You know, it's a bit like, and I said it a few weeks ago, the Marx brothers, Groucho Marx, whenever he was standing to be a politician, he said, here's my principles. If you don't like them, I've got others. Well, that really typifies what it is that the Ulster Unionist Party have become. Now, are the DUP any better? Well, it's looking like they're not. And why? I'm trying to tell you the origins of the DUP turning about and not confronting things in a way in where that the media can actually highlight the things that they're doing. What they would rather do is that they would rather walk away from confrontation or a story in the media, even if it means not confronting the things that need nipped in the bud right now, even if it means not confronting the people who mean British unionism the most harm, even if it means that some things have to be conceded in order to save the DUP party political machine from a pasting in the left wing uh, mainstream so called media. And therein lies the real reasons as to why the DUP won't get up off their knees and won't stand up for British unionism. What they would rather do is they would rather roll over to anything that they should be standing up against in order that they get an easy ride in the media. Now, I'm going to talk about a phrase here. I'm going to ask each and every one of you to remember this phrase. And this phrase goes like this: the DUP are politically castrated and rendered impotent. I'll say that again. The DUP are politically castrated and rendered impotent when it comes to standing up for the things that they should be standing up for in order to protect British unionism here in Northern Ireland. We heard on the media just yesterday morning, we heard where a DUP minister, Sammy, it was actually this morning, it wasn't yesterday morning, where Sammy Wilson would have been using his absolute right to suggest that what are we about to lock society down for whenever we have a Nelson Mandela variant coming down the road? And I say that in jest, but a South African variant. What are we locking down society for right now before that it's even here, without having the facts? And then we had Mr. Nolan on the Nolan show this morning highlighting the fact that Sammy Wilson had actually said this and trying to turn the tide of public opinion against Sammy Wilson. And this is exactly how that Mr. Nolan tried to do this. Now remember, Mr. Nolan, he is aligned with a particular ideology. And what he does is that he uses his position in the media to promote his ideology. And it's very, very clear to be seen exactly what he's doing. Now listen very carefully to what he done this morning. And for those of you that are in Scotland and England and Wales, well, Mr. Nolan is a broadcaster on the BBC Radio Ulster. He broadcasts between 9 o'clock and 10:30 each and every morning here in Northern Ireland. So he started off by saying that, is Sammy Wilson a doctor? Does Sammy Wilson have more medical credentials than the chief medical officer? Does Sammy Wilson know more about medical issues than some of these medical experts? Well, I say no, Mr. Nolan. Sammy Wilson doesn't have more medical intelligence than these people. But then again, aren't there other people in the medical field who don't agree with what's going on, who don't agree with what's happening in the media, who don't agree with what's happening in hospitals? And yet their voices are being curtailed, and yet they do have the medical intelligence to be able to add to a debate. But of course, that we know that the Ofcom people, well, they don't allow the BBC to report the truth. The BBC have to take the official narrative, and that's exactly what we get. We don't get anything else. And whenever we're talking about what is happening in the media, well, you see, the gift of freedom is like a torch that has to be kept burning. And the gift of freedom was handed down from future generations. And what I see in front of me right now is I see that gift of freedom being trashed, I see that torch being extinguished. I see people, politicians that we have put in place to serve and protect us. And by protecting us, they need to protect that torch of freedom also. And yet, as I say, these people, they would rather avoid confrontation with the media. So let me get back into what it was that Mr. Nolan was doing this morning. Well, has Sammy Wilson, the DUP MP, Has he got more medical ability and intelligence than some of these doctors? And then he said, well, let's see if the DUP leader, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, agrees with what Sammy Wilson is saying. You can see what Mr. Nolan is trying to do here. You see, Mr. Nolan is trying to ensure that Geoffrey Donaldson and the DUP leadership would say to Sammy Wilson, you're not allowed to say that. Shushy, shushy. You aren't allowed to say anything for yourself. You will have to run it by the party, the the press office before you open your mouth. And this is exactly what is happening with our politicians. Sammy Wilson is an MP, a member of Parliament. Sammy Wilson is elected by the people. Mr. Nolan's not elected by the people. And here we have Mr. Nolan, the BBC, and their broadcast team, their production team, trying to cause the circumstances whereby that they frighten Geoffrey Donaldson and the DUP press office into ensuring that the likes of Sammy Wilson would not open his mouth out of turn ever again. And that, my friends, is the removal of freedom. You see, if we vote and if we put an MP, a member of Parliament, in position, they are the people that should have the most voice, because as a collective, we as people, we voted for those people and we voted to put them in place. Now, the DUP aren't my most favourite people right now, because that they're not standing up for our way of life, because that they're not ensuring that our freedoms are protected, because they're not actually ensuring that that torch of freedom remains burning. How would it be? How insulting would it be to let that torch go out? We were at the Remembrance Day services just a few days ago, remembering those from within our community who went to war, who gave themselves, who placed themselves in front of aggression, often losing their lives, for the right reasons, I may add, for the right reasons. The ordinary people who went to war, well, they done it for the right reasons, and they done it in order that that gift of freedom, that torch of freedom, in order that that would remain for future generations and would continue to remain down throughout the generations. And here we have the activists in the mainstream media trying to put politicians under pressure. And haven't they done a tremendous job? Haven't they done a great job? They've done such a job that your politicians, well, they are even frightened to talk to people like us. They are frightened to come on shows like this, just in case that we ask them the wrong questions. They have caused the circumstances whereby that the politician-people relationship, well, it's not what it should be. And we have a situation which has transpired in where the politicians, well, they will only talk to people if they think that it's not going to be too hard, if they think that it's not going to be too testing, and they'll only come to talk to people whenever that they're going to get an easy ride. In other words, people, they are only working at a very, very small capacity as opposed to working on full throttle, let's just say, that they should be for and behalf of the people here in Northern Ireland. You see, freedom, my friends, is one of the most important things that we will ever have. Freedom. You see, in a democracy, you have to have that freedom. You have to have the freedom to say what it is that you see, to challenge things, to put forward counter narratives, to question things in a way whenever that you see things going wrong. Well, you should be able to have a debate. I remember another phrase from not so long ago, and the phrase, some of you will know where this phrase came from, and we're now at the position on social media whereby that we can't even open our mouths about certain words for fear of being put off our social media platforms. for fear of losing our channels, for fear of not being able to broadcast. And a phrase from the not too distant past, really, which originated, I think it originated in Europe, and there was a film made, and they called this film, "Can't we talk about this? Can't we talk about this? Can't we try to debate this? Can't we put alongside the so-called experts? Can't we put the counter narratives against them? Can't we, as science would work, can't we hear the people that don't agree with those that would seek to lock us down?" Make no mistake, there are people out there that want to remove your freedoms to the point whereby that you're locked down, whereby that you're living in an open prison, whereby that you will do what you're told to do, otherwise that you won't have a place in society. Now, again, we can remember times in the past whenever this had happened, and without getting into the evil regime in the past, say, 60 years that tried this before, without even getting into talking about them. Who wants to go there? Those that forget the past are condemned to repeat it. And something? Who do I blame for where that it is that we're ending up? I blame our politicians. I blame their unwillingness, their inabilities. The very fact that they won't get up off their knees and they won't fight in a way that ordinary people actually deserve. What they would rather do is that they would rather permit, or they would rather sit back and allow others to do the dirty work. And then maybe they think that they're going to come in, and maybe they think that if this is turned around, they think that they're going to get the glory for, let me explain something. Since the start of the year, people like ourselves here at Restore, others from right around this country, starting off with the Market Hill Orange Lodge, in where that they wrote a letter of protest against the protocol, saying that they could not support the protocol. This is when Arlene Foster and Jeffrey Donaldson did actually support the protocol. You see, they wrote a letter of protest, and that acted as a domino effect right around this country. And what it did was, it took hold, and before that we knew it, there was writing in the wall and on the wall in every single area. And then the DUP were trailed, kicking and screaming to where the people actually wanted them to be. And then we have three leaders since in the DUP, from Arlene Foster to Edwin Poots to Jeffrey Donaldson. And now that Jeffrey Donaldson, he knows that there's an election coming up, and he goes and he meets a gathering of people in August. And I know what happened at that meeting. I wasn't there myself, but I know what happened. And I know that there was a lot of promises made, and those promises haven't actually been kept. And this, and what did he do? Well, he has been then building this and promoting this, what he did, as the DUP talking tough, the DUP doing something that should have been done before the protocol came into place. Remember one thing. The DUP, under the leadership of Arlene Foster, sat in Armagh previous to Christmas last year with Simon Coveney and with Michelle O'Neill, actually working out the mechanisms by which the protocol could function. I'll say that again. The DUP, under the leadership of Arlene Foster, sat in an office in Armagh just before Christmas last year, actually putting in place the mechanisms by which the constitutional changing protocol would operate. The DUP have their fingerprints all over this protocol. The DUP, in my honest opinion, are to blame. And why do I say that they're to blame? Because the DUP were the only party within British Unionism that had the ability to make meaningful, proactive protest in a way that would maintain, protect, British Unionism here in Northern Ireland. But the DUP didn't actually make that meaningful and proactive protest. They didn't. They chose to work on the side of everything that meant us the most harm. And you know something? The system that these people are aligning with, well, a new Ireland. Let's talk about that for a moment or two. And this week I've had several conversations with people from Ireland. People, ordinary citizens just like us. Ordinary citizens who tell me that the fascist state, which is the Republic of Ireland, well, that is not for Irish people. That is not for people who live down there. That state would rather treat newcomers better than the people that live there. That people would rather call people who are standing up for their rights, just like us. That state would rather call them far right, racist, every name under the sun. And why? Because that they are trying to protect their nationality, because that they care for their country, because that their services are burdened and overburdened, just like ours, because that the floodgates are opened and newcomers are coming in more than you can ever know. Overburdening an already overburdened system. I heard on the Nolan show this morning, I listened very carefully. I heard of a lady that was on the Nolan show this morning, and her son had taken a seizure. And it sounded very, very serious to me that the son, the lady, genuinely thought that the son was going to perhaps even die. The people in the ambulance command, well, they had actually advised the lady that if she could go and look for a defibrillator. Now, this is how bad this is. And apparently now, this, I may get the times wrong, but I'm going to just go for the time scale. Apparently, that say that the lady phoned at 10:30 at night. Well, by 1:30, by 2 o'clock, what I understand, the ambulance still hadn't arrived. And that lady was absolutely distraught that her son might actually die. Now ask yourself a question. How has it came that the ambulances, they can't get to an emergency? Well, are the hospitals burdened? Are they overburdened? Haven't they been burdened and overburdened last year, the year before that, and the year before that, with seemingly nothing being done about it? Haven't we reduced the hospital beds from a huge number to a small number? Haven't we done that? I heard it last week that the Mater Hospital, all the ICU beds were actually overwhelmed to the point whereby that there was 10 extra ICU beds put in the Mater Hospital. Now, what was the capacity? The capacity in the Mater were 6 ICU beds. People, I put it to you that if there's only 6 ICU beds in the Mater Hospital, maybe 6 people on a Friday night coming out of bars that gets into fights might need them ICU beds before we take into consideration respiratory diseases and everything else that goes with it, from operations to people taken seriously ill to car accidents to whatever. So you see, these services that we have to serve and protect the people of Northern Ireland, well, they are already overburdened. And yet all we see is these airy-fairy liberal folk with the authorization of our own political parties opening the floodgates and allowing this country to be packed by all and sundry. Not just this country, but right around the United Kingdom. Not just right around the United Kingdom, but in Ireland. Not just in Ireland, but right across the Western world. And you see, whenever globalists, they want countries filled with other folk from other places. Whenever liberals like the Alliance Party, like the Green Party, like the SDLP, like Sinn Féin, whenever those people, whenever they want newcomers so that they can enhance their vote, whenever they want that, You see, what they are doing is that they are burdening an already overburdened system, in where that whenever it comes to ordinary folk that live here, whenever they want treatment, well, they don't get the treatment, as you'll have just heard, in where that on the Nolan show this morning, uh, a mum was trying to get some services for her son, and it took from 10:30, I think, to after 2 o'clock to get an ambulance. What are our politicians doing? And then whenever we complain about it, whenever voices like mine or voices like other people's, whenever we complain about the mismanagement of the entire system of governments in Northern Ireland, whenever we see that there are people in our government who are there to destroy the country, whenever that we see that there are people in our government that would rather overburden the services so that they can say that the Conservative government, well, they're not putting enough money in here. Whenever we see these people spending money hand over fist on GAA grounds, on GAA clubs, on whatever. I'm just trying to think of some of the things that on their Irish language. There's another one for you. Whenever we see money being found for things that isn't actually essential, something that I would have written about a very long time ago, whenever I says when the needs of society are met, well, then we can start looking at the wants. And right now, people right around Northern Ireland, as a result of those that are in our government, that are in our councils, that are in the system of governance, that would rather see this place destroyed so that they can say that it's a failed state, well, they are spending essential monies on things to which that money should not be actually spent on. Then we're going to look at the criminal gang which occupies Stormont. Now, I'm even finding it hard to say that Sinn Féin and the people that are attached to Sinn Féin with the private army outside the door, I'm even finding it hard to say that these people are a criminal gang. And let me explain why. Because are our politicians any better? Are they any better? Are our party political machines any better? That's a serious question. The gift of freedom. The gift of freedom is like a torch that was handed on from down throughout the generations. That torch, it is our responsibility to keep that torch burning. It is our politicians' responsibility to ensure that freedom would continue. But because of what's happening in our country, because that people will complain, because people will point out what's happening, because people will literally be livid at what's happening in this country, well, that freedom is incrementally it's being removed, and it's being facilitated by the politicians that you elect, that I elect, that we all put in place. And even by their silence, by their unwillingness to actually stand up for these things, for freedoms, by their actions, they are guilty. You make no mistake about it, they are guilty. We are slowly but surely heading towards an open prison. And your politicians, well, they haven't got the guts to stand up against it. If you're attached to any of those political parties from within British unionism, we can't have any influence over anyone from a nationalist or Republican standpoint, or even from an airy-fairy liberal standpoint. We can't have any influence over those people. But what we can do is that we can threaten our political parties at the ballot box. We can ensure that others would be put in place. We can ensure that those politicians, a bit like the Ulster Unionist Party of old, whenever Davy Trimble and his merry band of sellout merchants, whenever they done contrary to what the British Unionist people in Northern Ireland here actually wanted, well, we went to the polls and we voted in huge numbers to ensure that the Ulster Unionist Party would be totally decimated. And people, if that's what we're going to have to do again, that is exactly what we as people are going to have to do again. And the DUP think that they are fooling people by talking tough, by saying that they're going to clap Stormont, and they actually don't, for the fact that Jeffrey, with all these good words, he has actually done nothing. And I'm going back over a period of years here whenever I have been consistently bringing things to the DUP, and although that they say that they're good things, that they should be stood up against, well, they don't do it. They don't do it. And, well, that's because, you see, they do not want to rock the boat for themselves. They don't want to be putting themselves in the firing line in terms of the media frenzy that would follow. They learned, and this is me going back to the times of the confidence and supply arrangement in where that the British press, where they savaged the DUP. Well, they don't want to find themselves in that position again. Now ask yourself a question. If that's the way the DUP are, if they won't get up off their knees, and if they won't mount a meaningful, proactive fight back against everything that's trying to destroy Northern Ireland and by extension the United Kingdom, if they won't do it, well, they need to move aside, and they need to allow people who are quite willing to stand up to these aggressors in whatever way necessary. So I wanted to say that this evening. I wanted to talk about the gift of freedom is like a torch that has been handed down throughout the centuries, and that torch needs to be maintained. The light on that torch, the flame on that torch, needs to be maintained at all costs. And if our politicians won't maintain the flame of that torch, well then, I think it's time that ordinary people maintained that flame for themselves. The DUP. You'll have seen in the video that we played at the very, very start, the ghost of Christmas past, where Arlene Foster had give again. We're about to see the legacy of what Arlene Foster had give in terms of the nation-building bag of tools that was given to Republicans in order that they can destabilise Northern Ireland. People, you make no mistake about it. Our politicians, those that we elect, they have caused the circumstances whereby that we are losers, that we are continuous losers, that we don't have anything else to lose. So for some people, it's a case of standing up whilst you can. And as for me, I will totally, I will give all. I will give everything to stand up against these people for and behalf of British unionism, for and on behalf of everything that we believe in. And what we need is that we need people to stand with ordinary people, to send a message to these politicians that enough is enough. We're not going to be taking it anymore. There's a date in our calendar. The date is the 18th of December. At 1:30, some of us will be meeting up at the founding father of Northern Ireland, up at the statue of Carson at the front of Stormont. 1:30 on the 18th of December. Myself and a group of others, we'll be going there. We'll be going there to commemorate our centenary. The centenary that we never had. The centenary that, that a lot of people done a lot of things to ensure that we couldn't actually mark that centenary in an official way. Yes, we've seen some of the attempts to mark this centenary, and the best ones that I seen were the centenary events that was run in local communities by local people for local people. But we have to do this at a higher level. We have to do this at an official level. We have to attend Stormont to celebrate Um, the fact that in Northern Ireland we're 100 years old, the fact that we're going nowhere, the fact that we will continue for another 100 years, and no Republican, no IRA man, no Sinn Féiner, no SDLP person, no airy furry alliance type or SDLP type or Green type or UUP type will stand in the way of people celebrating their centenary. They can do what they want, but we will be celebrating our centenary on the year of our centenary. So, what I would like is that I would like for as many people as humanly possible to attend that centenary event. You know, we're speaking to people about bands. We know a man that we're going to ask, or if we don't get him, we'll get someone else. But we want a piper to play a very, very special song. And I'm going to ask each and every one to come along on that day to hear that special, very, very special song. And you know, what we want is that we want people to bring their custom made centenary stones. Now, let me show you a few examples of what these custom made centenary stones can look like. And you know, if you're not capable of making these stones for yourself, well, what we will do is that we will commission people on your behalf to make these stones for you for a small fee, which will cover the cost of the stone, the paint, the time, and the effort. And what we will do is that we will actually make these stones available for people to purchase. Now, what we'll do, we have some examples of what these stones could look at. And yes, Carol, I see what you've just written there, and we'll get on to that in a few moments. So we will. So I'm going to pop up a few examples of what a centenary stone could actually look like. Now, this is down to each and every individual, what it is that they want to do for themselves. But I'm going to superimpose a picture in front of me here. So there we go. What you'll see just there is three little stone blocks, and they've been painted white. And you know, this is only an example. Now, there are things that have to be added to these little stone blocks. These are just for the purpose of explanation. I mean, these were rushed. They were set into motion on Monday, and I have to say, the time and the effort that the lady that put these together, the time and the effort that you had to put into these was good. And I'm going to show you some more. Excuse me, in a moment. Now, that's a centenary stone, and we can have a message say across that little Union Jack like hashtag celebrate 100. You know, like yesterday, today, and forever. You know, with reference to Northern Ireland being not just for 100 years, but being for yesterday, today, and forever. You know, these are the slogans that could be put in these stones. You know, and I would encourage each and every person that commissions or makes one of these stones to put their name on them. And you know what we hope to do, and we've been talking to a politician, is that we hope to we're telling these people at Stormont that we're placing these around the base of the Carson statue, and we're telling them that we're coming to collect these stones whenever the centenary is over, which would be in January, the first week in January. And what we'll do is that we'll go up and we'll gather the stones all together. And what we'll do is we'll find a site to where that we can take these stones to make them available for people to see how that it was that the people of Northern Ireland actually celebrated their centenary. So I'm encouraging you and everyone else to spread this message far and wide. And as the days goes on, we'll be providing more and more advertisements and more notifications to where that you can actually copy these things and you know and spread them far and wide. And I'm going to pop up another succession of these stones here. But there we go. You know, look at these. Now, I'm looking from left to right here where we see the map of Northern Ireland, the little Union Jack. Now, these are just different designs. You know, there could be a Northern Ireland with a full Union Jack in the map with little messages on them. You know, Northern Ireland is British. You know, hashtag celebrate 100. That's the hashtag. That's the official hashtag for what we're doing. Hashtag celebrate 100. 100 years of Northern Ireland. It's a commemoration, and there's an Ulster flag, 100 years. I'm just saying these are the types of things, just for idea purposes, that people can be doing. Now, I currently have of these particular small stones, and I'm sure that we can put our hands on a lot more of these. But I probably have somewhere between 300 or 400 of those things. And look, if we have to commission someone to take those stones, to have them painted with custom messages for people, well, there's a lot of time and effort would be put into doing these. So, there would have to be a fee that would be charged. And all I'm asking is that you could leave a message in the live chat if you want one of those stones made for you with your own custom made message on it. Or if you want ideas, we can help with that also. And from here at Restore, well, we're going to commission a special stone of our own. And what we're going to do is that we're going to have a special message from Restore UK celebrating the Northern Ireland Centenary on the 100th year birthday. And that's on December the 18th at Stormont, at the Carson statue. And I think there's no other place which is more appropriate than that actual location to go and to celebrate our centenary. Now, we already have it agreed that there are some lambag drums coming up. Again, we have to talk to someone who has piping capability, the bagpipes. We want a band or several bands. Again, I'm putting this out to the live chat that if you can help with this, please help, because this just isn't John Yates. This just isn't the people at Restore. This isn't the people at Restore that's doing this. This is a collective effort by ordinary people. Whenever we can't rely on our politicians to fight for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way, in a way that defends, protects, and enhances everything that we ever believed in. When we can't rely on those politicians, well then, when we can't rely on them, we have to do it for ourselves. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So what we need is that we need people power. We need people to attend this event, to support this event, to spread this event far and wide between their friends, their family. And you know something? Sinn Féin, they said that you can't have a centenary stone. I heard the other day that Conor Murphy wouldn't allow for a tree to be planted for the centenary in the grounds of Stormont. I heard that. I don't know whether it's right or not, but I certainly heard that on the mainstream media. So whenever those type of things are happening, what we need to do is that we actually need to take the initiative ourselves and to go and to do it for ourselves. That's exactly what we need to do. People, what I'm going to do at this point, I'm just over the hour there and we're talking, and let me just explain one more time, is that the gift of freedom, it's like a torch. It's like a torch that was handed down through the generations to us, and it was burning when we got it. Are we going to be the generation that allows that flame to go out? That's a very serious question. Are we going to be the generation that would permit the flame of freedom to go out? You answer that question for yourself, because I know the answer that I have in my mind. I'm going to pop up a PayPal link. Now, again, I'm saying to people here, we've fundraised we've the money for 3 centenary woods, and this is going to be a byproduct of this centenary event. Is that what we want? Is that we want a 100 wood project, which is to complement the celebration that we'll be doing for our centenary. And we're going to be planting 100 trees in 100 different locations right around Northern Ireland. You know the drill. The woods would be named after a figure from 100 years ago up until today. I mean, already there is a site identified for Dennis Hutchings wood. There's already a site identified for a William Hanna wood, which was a war hero from Ballymoney in County Antrim. We're already identifying sites. We've already got another very special site, which we won't actually name right now, but this is a hugely significant site. We've already identified a site for another word. So we have the money for 3 of these words, plaques, commemorations, everything that we want to do to get these words off the ground. And we want to make these words available for as a tourist trail, with all the history of why it is that those words were called after these people, and why that it is that every single tree within that word, every 100 trees in each and every word equals 10,000 words, 10,000 trees in 100 words, named after 10,000 different people by members of the community. And what we want to do is that we want to collate all of that information and to make it available for people to be able to look through each word and say, well, that tree was named after a suicide victim from the area. That tree was named after someone who done good work from within the community. That tree was named after a character from the kingdom, the United Kingdom. It could be anything or anybody that those trees could be named after. And already some people, our good friend Protestant Porter here wants to name one of those trees after a friend of hers. And absolutely, absolutely. So people, if you want to name one of those trees in anywhere, any one of these places, if you can identify a site in your area that 100 of these saplings should be planted, what we really need is that we need an area of 30 meters by 30 meters. It doesn't have to be square. It can be, a different dimension. But as long as we have 3 meters between each tree, well, that would permit these trees to grow and to form the word in the way that it actually should be formed. So we've already done the homework, and this is exactly what we want to do. And we want to ensure that 100 Wood project, celebrating and highlighting our centenary, when it actually gets off the ground, and it gets off the ground properly and in a way that is deserving and fitting for the fact that Northern Ireland, aside from the aggression from others, aside from all of those that wanted to destroy Northern Ireland, well, here we are, 100 years later, still standing. I think of a song, by Elton John, I'm still standing. Northern Ireland is still standing and will continue to stand whilst there's people like ourselves here at Restore. It'll continue to stand. Now, if it's left to your politicians, well, who knows where it would be? Never mind in 100 years, in 100 days, who knows where it would be if people don't continue to put the pressure on our politicians. So people, there's a PayPal link. It's on Restore UK. It's on the British Unionist People's Voice. It's also on Restore UK at YouTube. And if you can afford to put anything into that, well, what you're doing right now is that, and you make no mistake about it, you are contributing to purchasing saplings for the 100 Wood project. You are contributing to purchasing maybe a couple of banners for the celebration up at the 18th of December, our centenary birthday celebration. Maybe need to get a few banners. And look, put it like this: if not one penny comes in to our PayPal link, we will do this anyway. You make no mistake about it. We will do this anyway. But I always believe that we is better than I. And if everybody can put in a small amount, well, then that makes light work, and all the burden then isn't actually placed on one or two people. So yes, that's what we want to do, is that we want to mark our centenary, and we want to also talk about on the day, on the 18th, is the gift of freedom, which was handed down from future generations to us, down throughout the generations. Or not future generations, past generations to now. The gift of freedom, which was handed down by our forefathers, is like a torch. It's a torch which is burning, and we need to maintain the flame on that torch. I just said that again so that we would cut it and we could maybe make a meme of it for promotional purposes. So people, there we go. That's what we're here to explain tonight. That's what we're here to appeal to the people on Restore, to make this event at Stormont a reality, to make this event at Stormont, to make it successful, to make it that we won't be told by globalists, we won't be told by those that are putting money into community groups, we won't be told by the comprador, we won't be told by the comprador class, we won't be told. We will be celebrating our centenary on the centenary year. And you make no mistake about it, we will be celebrating our centenary. Let's say they lock us up, let's say they lock us down. Well, we still will be celebrating our centenary. You make no mistake about it, this will be done. This will be done. So there we go. There we go. So this is from Carol. I'm pleased to say that the daughter of an RUC man who was murdered is more than happy for a tree to be named after him. He was holiday friend of mine when he came to stay behind my house. Brilliant, Carl. There you go. We're really looking forward to that. And we've been talking to people, as I say, that already are talking about the names for the woods and the names for some of the people that will be going on the trees, and some of our English brothers and sisters coming across to actually dedicate trees after people who lost their lives here. This is what we want to make our centenary wood, which represents our history. It represents what has happened in this country. It represents life in Northern Ireland as you, as I, and as everyone else knew it. Not the rewritten type of history, but the history as it happened. So there we go. A 100 wood project, 100 trees on 100 different locations. The 18th of December, up at the Carson statue. I'm just going to pop up a little advertisement again for that. Here we go. Sorry, I'm going to take Carol's comment away there for a moment. So there we go. Sorry, a wee minute. We will be celebrating our 100-year centenary. Lord Carson statue, Stormont Estate, Belfast, Saturday the 18th of December. We're going to ask people to arrive at 1:30 p.m. Everyone welcome. Bring your own painted stone, or what you can do is through Restore here, you can purchase your own specific message on a stone. And what we can do is we can commission someone on your behalf to make that stone for you and to paint the message on it and to ensure that it goes on and around the base of Carson, the Carson statue. And look, make no mistake about it, the money that would be required for those stones, if you come through here, well, the money that is raised will go to the person or people that actually make these stones. And also, if there's a small bit of profit that is made, well, the rest of the money would be given into the Centenary Wood project. So there we go. It's a good thing to do. And look, there's a good thing that Georgia Bickerstaff has actually said. Now, let me just take that. I'm just going to take this down, if you don't mind. And then I want to go back to the comments where, Georgia, you always come up with very good ideas. But look, I'm going to ask Jim Werner to copy that one, because this is what we maybe should do. Coins or medals should be minted for our school kids, I think. That's a very, very good idea. So now, this is the point where what we do is that we go to the people that are getting the funding, and we say to them, well, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to do this? Because this is a very good idea. Well, I think that if we can show that we can do this, and we can do this very, very successfully, well, what you'll find is that there'll be a lot of people that will want to be aligned with it. There'll be a lot of people that will want to claim victory for having it. This is something that a lady that lost her husband in the Troubles actually said to me one time. And she was referring to how that it is that I speak, and how that some of the things that I've done in terms of highlighting what it is that our politicians are doing, what it is that the IRA are doing, what it is that whoever it is, you do know that we went, and what we did is that we broadcast on video here on Restore, and we showed people that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs were at a secret location in Notting Hill, number 29 Notting Hill, just off the Malone Road in Belfast. And we actually had an admission from the lady that we went to the gate, and we asked her, could we speak to Simon Coveney, or words to that effect. And she says, oh, no, you can't meet him here. You have to talk to him down at Lennon Hall Street. So I says, well, if I could drop a letter in here, would it get to Simon Coveney? Well, anyway, the lady just admitted, yes, this was the Department for Irish Foreign Affairs at Notting Hill. These are the types of things that we will do, and we'll continuously do. We'll continue to do these things no matter what. And a lady from within our community that whose husband was actually blown up, she said to me, John, it's your own people you have to watch, because often whenever people from within the community, whenever they do these things and they push on and they uncover things and they highlight things, well, Shirley McMichael had said to me that some people, I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe I don't know, maybe they don't like to see people moving on and doing these things. Look, listen, what I do for no reward for me. In fact, what I do is that I often put myself in awkward positions, compromising positions. We put ourselves into positions in where that the right now, and make no mistake about it, because of the way that our freedoms are being removed. Well, who'll be the first to go if this totalitarianism really kicks in? It'll be people like me. Will we end up in the gulag first? Will we end up being taken away in the truck to the camp? Who will go first? Ask yourself the question. And I'm absolutely quite aware of the danger of. There's an old saying: when you're right and the establishment are wrong, you find yourself in a very, very dangerous position. And that's a fact. That's a fact. So look, again, Shirley McMichael had said to me, it is often whenever you try to do these things, it's people from within your own community that actually run you down, and they are your worst opponents. So there we go. But look, that's what we're up against, because something? We are doing things for the right reasons. We are doing things. Ordinary people are doing the things for the right reasons. Look, we are not getting paid. We are not taking coin. We are not getting any type of funding for this. We are not compromised, people. We are not compromised. We don't have a vested interest in ensuring that there's a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of both worlds. We don't have a vested interest in keeping the European Union, any part of Northern Ireland. We voted in Brexit referendum to leave the European Union. We don't have a vested interest in aligning ourselves with the people that are trying to destroy us. So for that reason, we will probably stand up harder and longer than anyone else. Anyway, thanks very much for coming along, people. And look, there's some really, really good messages in the live chat. I do see that. And I'm going to go through some of them messages. Yes, Leslie, I'm just going to pop this up, and I really thank you. John, could you PM me a bank account short code so I can make donations to your good work? It'd be a nice gesture if some trees were planted in memory of our Protestant reformers and some of the many Protestant martyrs who were burnt alive for their faith, also in memory of the victims of 1641. Leslie, we have the site already for some of those trees. We really do. And we will talk about that. In fact, I'll tell you about it in private. So there we go. And thank you very much. And yes, there's already a site. It's already been pushed into place. And put it like this. And we did hear today and thanks very much for that, Leslie. We did hear today of the FICT report, the Flags, Identity, Culture and Tradition report. And we look at how that the report was suggesting some things, and it wasn't, in all fairness, going too harsh at this point. I have to say, it wasn't going too harsh. But there's a lot of things that I thought when I sat and I listened, and I know a bit about this FICT report. I mean, I've been writing about this FICT report from 2017. I've been talking to people that was on the panel on the FICT report. Nelson McCausland was a man that was part of the formation of the FIC report. Doug Beattie was part of putting together the FIC report. A guy called Tom Hennessy, Professor Tom Hennessy, who used to be aligned to the Ulster Unionist Party, was involved in that FIC report. And back in 2017 going forward, I found the need to write about the FIC report because there was a lot of things that I had heard that that was happening from within that report that it was well worth following. So here we are, 2021. We've heard about what's in the FIC report just today. And, in all fairness, I then think about the conversation that was being had on BBC Radio Ulster Talkback today, in where that people were generally going, well, that's not bad, that isn't too bad. They've accepted that bonfires should remain, and and they've accepted that that's part of the culture, and there's a lot of good things in the report, and it sounds quite reasonable. But people, let me tell you why it isn't reasonable. Is because there is one thing that is happening right now in Northern Ireland, and that one thing is as a result of the DUP being asleep at the wheel, and as a result of the DUP doing something that the people within Northern Ireland, that the electorate had told them, had pleaded with them not to do. And that one thing that's happening in Northern Ireland right now is the fact that the DUP have conceded on an Irish language commissioner. Now, again, I have to make this very, very plain, is that we don't have anything against anyone that wants to speak Irish, teach Irish, do whatever they want to do with Irish, but do it in your own area. Don't do it in areas where people do not want to see Irish or be taught Irish or have anything to do with Irish. Do it in your own area, and that way it won't be offensive to people. Because for many, many years, Republicans have used the Irish language as a weapon, in where that, and I'll use Shana Walsh's own words, he said that he wants to green Northern Ireland street by street using the Irish language. And that is the current, he's the man that wrote the current Republican nation building strategy based on the experiences from the Basque country, where they had learned a lot from where the esoterists that they're aligned with, where they had used language in order to destabilize society. And that's happened in quite a few countries right around the world. So Shana Walsh had written that, learning from the experience of the Basque country, that what they wanted to do is they wanted to use Irish language as a nation building tool. And the DUP, they give the Republicans their nation building bag of tools. Now remember that. Don't lose sight of this fact. So what we now have is that we now have a consultation. The Belfast City Council have a consultation out for the Irish language signs to be placed in the city centre in Belfast, in shared space. Why is this happening? You see, what the DUP appear to have conceded, and it wasn't as if that we didn't warn them about it, is they appear to have conceded that, and Billy Hutchison, well, he said the same thing. And I have the words of Billy here to show you where Billy said this, is that, well, dual language signs is what has been agreed. And I said to Billy Hutchison live here on Restore, well, if it's going to be dual language signs in, say, for example, Lennon Hall Street, why can't we have trilingual signs with an Ulster Scots sign on it too? Now, this isn't the road that we wanted to travel, whereby that we wanted, say, an Ulster Scots sign alongside an Irish sign, alongside an English sign. This wasn't the road that we wanted to travel, but this is certainly the road to where that the DUP have actually led us through their stupidity, their absolute stupidity. And let me explain why. You see, they appear to have conceded that Irish is now equivalent to English. So when Irish speakers are getting brought up level with English speaking, they seem to think that that's okay. But English doesn't belong to us. English doesn't belong to you, me, or people in the United Kingdom. English doesn't belong to the United Kingdom. English belongs to people who speak it right around the world. English is a universal language. It's spoken by Australians, it's spoken by Americans, it's spoken by Canadians, and so on and so forth without getting into it. It's spoken in different ways in different countries. Like, for example, the Americans might have a different form of English where they would say that, you could fry an egg on the sidewalk, where we could say, well, okay, our footpaths aren't warm enough to fry an egg on. You see, there's different words that's used within that language depending on the location that is being used. And in Australia, for example, a woman would be a Sheila, and so on. And we know how this works. You see, English doesn't belong to the English. English doesn't belong to the United Kingdom. English doesn't belong to the people in Northern Ireland. English is a universal language. And whenever I see Irish being placed alongside English in city centre shared spaces, what I see is an unfair enhancement for the Irish language fraternity. And what it does and what it is exactly as Republicans intended it. It is their nation building strategy being put into place, as Shana Walsh would have said, that he wants to green Northern Ireland street by street using the Irish language. And the DUP, the leaders in the DUP, the strategists within the DUP, those in the DUP head office, well, Timmy Johnston and co., that's how stupid these people are. That's how stupid these people are whenever they allow Republicans to put Irish on a par with English. And in fact, people, let me explain something else. Did you know there isn't an English Language Act? So that puts Irish over and above English because they are in law protected where English language actually isn't. Now, what did we do? I was asked to submit a paper to the talks before the New Decade, New Deal approach, in where that I give Edwin Poots a list of requirements in that paper. And on that paper, I had said, well, if there is to be any enhancements for the Irish language, what we need to do is that we need to protect English. We need to protect English so that if someone would come along using their commissioner to say that I want corresponded to in Irish, and believe me, this is what these people intend to do. I want corresponded to in Irish. Well, you see, an English speaker could then say, if he was protected or she was protected, well, no, thank you. I prefer to use my right to correspond in English. And that would have diffused the situation. And it wasn't as if the DUP didn't know about this, because we outlined it in writing to them. But yet they didn't actually do this. They said that they were removing the teeth from the Irish language. But what they did do is that they give unfair enhancements to Irish language. And what we're now seeing is that we're seeing the outworkings of this in where our shared space is going to have dual signs, not trilingual signs, but dual signs, English and Irish being the dominant language as a result of and by way of the commissioner and the lawful act that would be put in place, the wider cultural act the DUP are calling it, which gives unfair enhancements to the Irish language. So there we go. There is the negotiators of the year, game, set, and match. That's your leaders, people. That's who is actually leading you, and they're leading you to a place of destruction. That's what they're doing. And they turn a blind eye. Why? Because they're okay. They're okay. Because Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, Queen's Privy Councillor, on the board of a peace building group along with Deirdre Heenan, which it's been suggested, people, and I'll say this again, mark my word, it has been suggested that particular peace building group has its origins as having been run by the CIA. There you go. Ask yourself what the CIA do around the world. Ask what they do in countries. Wonder what they do in countries whenever they want an agenda pushed into place. Well, I'll leave that for the live chat so that they can answer that. Geoffrey, that's a peace envoy to Cameroon, selling his experiences of the Northern Ireland peace process to Cameroon. The George Mitchell Institute do that, by the way. And who is it that works for the George Mitchell Institute? Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Tony Blair, John Major. All of these people that want to see the destruction of British unionism here in Northern Ireland. And here we have unionists, so-called unionists, working alongside these people. Our forefathers would actually be turning in their graves. The gift of freedom was passed down through generations to us. The gift of freedom is like a torch, which was burning when it was handed on to us. And it is our responsibility to keep that torch burning. When we can't rely on our politicians to fight for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way, how then can we survive? The truth of the matter is, people, we can't. We absolutely can't. Thanks very much for coming along. We're an hour and a half in. I've spoke for an hour and a half there. Please leave some messages in the live chat for me. The numbers have stayed fairly high there. Please give us a like, a love. Please give us a share. Please encourage other people to come along. Don't forget, if you can help in any way, and I will get the bank details off to some people there that requires the bank details. But if you can help in any way by putting something into the PayPal account, which will go towards the Centenary celebration, and this is being done, this Centenary celebration, with the right attitude, with for proper reasons, for honourable reasons, is that we are 100 years old and we want to celebrate properly our centenary, and we want to do it in Stormont. Now, I know that there's one next May. I know that there's a centenary event next May, and where loads of people will turn out. It will probably dwarf what it is that we actually achieve in terms of numbers here on the 18th. But here's the thing. What we will have done is that we will have celebrated our birthday on our birthday. We're not the Johnny-come-latelys. We won't be told what to do by Sinn Féin IRA. We will be celebrating our centenary. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's a quote that I've borrowed from Alex Belfield. So there we go. Thanks very much for coming along. And Colin Legg, I just want to highlight this man here. Is that, Colin, I want to thank you for all the monies that you've put into that PayPal account. And there's other people there that has helped. Too many to mention. And as I notice the names, I actually will. But Colin, you make no mistake, Colin. You have almost funded a full centenary wood. At £1 a sapling, that's what it costs. And we might be able to get them a bit cheaper at £1 a sapling, plus the plaques and stuff that goes along with it. You have almost funded a centenary wood. Carl Porter, there's another person there, and I see more, and I'm going to pop these people up. Thanks very much, Carl, for the donation. We received it today. Going towards funding a huge number of saplings. You believe me. Lindy Cole Alexander, thank you very much, Lindy, for your kind donation just a few weeks ago. And honestly speaking, Lindy, you will have done a great service to putting one of these woods together. And and I really thank the people for literally having the faith to put the money into this here. And and just like us all. And there's another man there. There we go. Henry Jordan, thank you very much yet again. The donation was greatly received. I mean that sincerely. Could you highlight the stones again, please? I certainly will, Henry. I certainly will. So I'm going to pop this up again one more time. So I am. I'm going to pop this up again. And people, if I've missed people that continuously put money into this channel for the things that we do, like what have we done? We have literally over the summer there, if you can remember, we produced banners, and there's Lindy there. She confirmed, we sent 2 banners there with Lindy up to Londonderry for whenever Christie was playing. But, what we did is that we went around this country giving out banners, over the 12th period to people all around this country. And it was your donations that actually paid for all of those things. And it's not that we haven't done things for ourselves, because we've made ourselves fairly professional also with our own money and with some money in terms of the donations and the T-shirts that were sold and the badges that were sold. And we've now made ourselves completely professional in terms of the equipment that we have. And we're documentary ready, and we're capable of doing these things right now. And it's all down to the thanks of the people. So again, I'm just going to pop this up. So I am, and I'm going to, before that I play us out with two little songs, I want to do a couple of things here. I want to just highlight a couple of things before that it is that we go. So Henry, here we go. These are the type of things here that we're talking about now. These are little stones, and what they are is they're a little legend. They're probably about 100 mil. They're 4 inches by just under 4 inches the other way. That's them stones. So I mean, if you could imagine your, I don't know, well, what's 100 mil? I could tell you what 100 mil is. I'm a builder. I'm just trying to think of something. Like picture your iPhone. Picture your iPhone, but a bit less on the length of it, and maybe a wee bit wider sort of thing. The size of a decent sized phone. That's the size of them stones, and they're a wee bit thicker. So that's the type of thing that we're talking about. Now, listen, that was all rushed. I mean, believe me, this artist that we have commissioned to do this, believe me, it is an artist that is doing this. And you'll get stones of very, very good quality with your name on it and whatever message that you actually want. And and they'll not be that dear. Look, I'm going to hazard a guess, and I'm going to say, if you were to commission one of these stones, it's going to cost you a tenner. And the reason why that it is there's a lot of time and effort that's going to be put into the painting of them, the putting the pictures on them, the messaging on them, and everything else. Now, out of that tenner, I'm going to say there'll be probably about £5 that'll be put towards the 100 wood project. So, I think that's probably the best way to do that there. If anybody wants these stones, we do them for them. And they'll not be posted or anything, but we'll certainly get them around, or they can collect them on the day. Or if they're not going to be there on the day, we can make arrangements to actually place them and take some pictures of them for the people that can't actually attend. So yeah, there's the stones. That's just a brief example of what it is that can be done. And we want to obliterate the base of Carson with these stones. So I hope that helps, Henry. I hope that helps. Now, I'm going to take this down. I'm going to go back to the messages again. Yes, 100 mil, 4 inches long, George. That's right. I'm just trying to explain to people in terms of something that they can measure in their mind's eye, the size of it. A small iPhone, like an iPhone 7, is probably about, just over 4 inches, but a wee bit wider. There's a phone there, you see, right? So, 4 inches, maybe till about there, but square. See, that's the type of thing that we're talking about. So, right, back to the live chat and back to what it is that we're doing here. So what I want to do is I want to bring that down from Henry. And Henry, thanks very much again, Henry, for your very kind donation again. And that all the money that you put in is going towards the Centenary Wood project, as is the money that comes in from here on in. We won't be taking, in fact, we'll be putting money to it, never mind taking money from it. It's as simple as that, and we always do that anyway. And that's right across the board here in terms of, there's 4 people on the admin here at Restore UK and in the British Unionist People's Voice. And I have to say, we've never been found wanting in terms of putting our hands in our pockets to put money in, just like yourself, Henry, and others on the chat. So again, now, let's see, I want to just do this. Now, I want to go back to the, just to show a couple of pictures before that it is that we move on. Now, again, we're popping that up. 18th of December, don't forget, if you care, be there. So that's that. Now, something else I want to prop up, and then we want to finish focusing on the reason why we came here this evening. The gift of freedom is like a torch which is burning, which has been passed down throughout the generations to us. And it is our responsibility to keep that torch flame burning. And if our politicians won't do it, if we can't rely on our politicians to keep the flame of freedom burning, well, we have to do that for ourselves. And how do we do that? We do that by putting them under pressure. That's how we do that. We're going to pop up another little picture here. We're going to make this meme available on the Restore site, and also on the British Unionist People's Voice. And excuse the fact that there's 2 Restore badges there. There's just now, I'll tell you what, I can move one. If you just bear with me for 2 seconds. Be being the perfectionist that I am. So there we go. There's only one Restore badge now. Now, one is the badge that actually superimposes as a result of actually being here broadcasting. So the gift of freedom is like a torch. It has been handed down. Will we be the generation to let the torch of freedom go out? Now, that's a real question for the people here on our live chat and for the people that comes along at a later stage to watch our stream this evening. You know, this torch, this freedom torch, is way too important to let would-be dictators and those with vested interest in mind. It is way too important, that flame on that torch, to concede without a fight. I'll say that again. It's way too important to concede the flame on that torch without a fight. Thanks very much for coming along, people. I am going back to, and here's the thing, believe it or not, no matter why you're a British Unionist or you're a Catholic or a nationalist or whatever colour your freedoms are, those freedoms are the same for you as they are for me. And it isn't the right of a politician being pushed by worldwide dictators. It isn't the right of our politicians to take our freedoms away. What they have to do, in order that they don't discriminate against us, there's number one. What they have to do is that if they want to make a two-tier society, if they want to make this two-tier society, if Robin Swan and the likes want to insist because of the thing that's doing the rounds, I have to choose my words, because of the thing that's doing the rounds, if they want to say that people have to be living in a two-tier society, that people have to be excluded from society if they don't comply, if they want to push in such a system, you see, it is their onus of responsibility. In order that they don't discriminate against people, it is their onus of responsibility, if they're making that two-tier system, to make available a society in where that those that actually have bodily autonomy and want to stand up for their bodily autonomy and that don't want to take a medicine without having assessed all the available information, which should be available, which isn't quite available right now. You know, and we haven't heard the debates between the scientists, which actually are disputing what it is that the official narrative is. You see, if they want to create that two-tier society, that society and where people are discriminated against, it is their onus or responsibility to ensure that pubs, clubs, any place of public interest is made available in where segregation within those places are actually made possible. Now, that is harsh for me to say, but if you have people that take the medicine and, you know, if they don't want them mixing with people that haven't taken the medicine, well, in order that people are not discriminated against, you know, in order people that are standing up for their rights, their absolute rights, you see, it is the politician's onus of responsibility to ensure that, for example, if it was a pub, well, there's half of that pub made available for one half and half of the pub made available for another half, in order that no one is discriminated against. I don't trust these people. Each and every time our freedom has been curtailed or taken away, it has been lost and gone forever. And, you know, don't be like the person, the little boy that puts his hand in the fire and is being encouraged to put his hand in the fire again, because you only get burnt. That's what happens. You only get burnt. But I think you know that anyway. So I want to close with showing you two pictures, just two pictures. And I'm doing this as a general point of understanding. Okay, just a few weeks ago, start of November, who I see here at a GAC match, you know, GAA, effectively. Ballinderry Shamrocks. I see a small man here next to the left of the blue flag. That's our health minister. Attending a GAA match. Now, we're going to take that one down and we're going to pop up another one. I don't see any social distancing or anything taking place. I don't see any need for masks or anything else. Not there. Not by the man that's in the know. Not by the man that Mr. Nolan says that, well, he's the expert. He's the expert. Maybe in the GAA circles, there is no virus. I don't know. Maybe the restrictions are not in force or in place whenever that what you're trying to do is that you're trying to push a woke agenda. You're trying to, align with those that want to destroy you. When you're trying to get votes, maybe you don't have to wear a mask. Maybe you don't have to actually participate in socialist distancing. And again, I use those words very, very carefully. Socialist distancing. Anyway, what do we say? Right, people, thanks very much for coming along. Thank you once again. We've come on here this evening. We come on to talk about a few things. We did just get a title. As you see, it's not scripted. We just speak from the heart. And whatever is said is actually said. And, we do have some very good guests coming in the very near future. We're talking to a human rights lawyer who we're going to get on here to talk about, your freedoms, your inalienable rights, your right to bodily autonomy, your right not to be discriminated against, your absolute right that a politician should not be making laws which makes you a second-class citizen, which excludes you from society as we know it. We're going to be talking to a human rights lawyer very soon on all of those subjects. And if anyone here thinks that, that they can suggest anyone that should come on here, that should come on to talk about matters of interest to British unionism, matters of interest to the people of Northern Ireland. If you're a Catholic, if you're a nationalist, if you are watching this now or at a later date, maybe that you agree with us, maybe that you would like to come on here and maybe that you would like to have a chat with us. People in the very, very near future. I've been talking to a lot of people from the Southern Ireland right now and people just like us that are standing up and fighting to keep the torch of freedom burning. And, I'm going to be inviting some of these people on here on Restore to talk to them, to give us their experiences from the fascist state, which is the Irish Republic, to give us their experiences of how that it is that they would be dictators, that is Micheál Martin, Simon Coveney and Leo Varadkar, how it is that those would-be dictators are actually working in a way which discriminates against ordinary Irish citizens in the South and which seeks to exclude people that won't comply with their ideology. Well, they seek to exclude others from society because that they don't believe what it is that they're being told and what it is that's being pushed down their throats. So watch this space. Anyway, thanks very much for coming along. Thank you. And again, I'm going to be playing this out with a couple of songs. What we're going to do is that, now watch very carefully, this is a remake of the original song that we done, and we call it Burning Bridges. It's a cover version of Burning Bridges, and I thought this song was most appropriate because the DUP right now are burning bridges with the British Unionist electorate here in Northern Ireland. Is Jeffrey Donaldson burning his bridges? Has he already burnt his bridges? Are the bridges that are burnt irreplaceable here in Northern Ireland? Well, only time will tell. But look, listen to the words of this song and watch very, very carefully, because what we did is that we changed some of the words as an update. And it's just to say, today is the 1st of December. Today is month 12 of the constitutional changing Northern Ireland Protocol. And we, Jeffrey, and the DUP hierarchy, and Mug Beatty and his crowd, well, we all know that they've done absolutely nothing about it. Good night, people. And thanks very much once again for coming along and making this worthwhile coming to do, because we see you people that turn up every single week. And good luck over the weekend. And no doubt we'll see you very, very soon. Thanks for coming along. Good night.
receive stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and indignity, drives the will to keep us British free. Not alone are we on this journey, we're in a land just across the sea. It's a hand that reaches out in friendship, and a bond that's lasted centuries. And its hands across the water, reaching out for you and me, for Queen Ulster and for Scotland, help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is the hand across the sea. Across the water, reaching out for you and me, for Queen and Ulster and for Scotland, help to keep our loyal people free. Let the cry be no surrender, let no one doubt our loyalty, reaching out to the brave red hand of Ulster is a hand across the sea. Just across the Irish Sea stirs a heart of loyalty, raising honor and indignity, drive the will to keep us British free. Not alone are we on this journey, or in a land just across the sea. It's a hand that reaches out in friendship, it's the hand across the sea. It's the hand across the sea. It's a hand across the sea.
We didn't join Europe to be swallowed up in some bureaucratic conglomerate where it's Euro this and Euro that and forget about being British. We're British and we're proud of it. Proud of our traditions, proud of our national character,